Now that we've talked about the basics of attachment, we understand a little bit of the basis for attachment. We're going to talk about attachment differences as they were observed primarily by Mary Ainsworth, who is one of the big names that we know in studying these attachment differences. So, Ainsworth's early research indicated that attachment occurs within just the first few weeks of an infant's life before they're even able to show physical or rather voluntary signs of that attachment. For example, a baby that's just a few weeks old obviously isn't going to be able to reach out for uh, the caregiver and use the caregiver for comfort in that way. But what Ainsworth's research with infants showed is that a baby's skin temperature would drop and stay low when their mother left the room, signaling, again, like we saw with the Harlows, that the caregiver is a safe haven or a safe base, even when babies aren't able to move towards the caregiver or vocalize them. Body temperature is one way that Ainsworth was measuring attachment even in very, very young infants. She created a laboratory uh, procedure, which she called the strange situation, that you're actually going to be watching. So what I'd like for you to do is maybe pause this video. I think that would be the best thing, and just kind of have it off to the side and go ahead and watch the other video that I have linked in the pink box on the right hand side of the page. Watch both of those short video clips and just answer the questions that are there. And then you can come back to this video and I'll talk to you about it. So what you should have seen is this procedure that Ainsworth developed, and then some of the different possible results. So in the strange situation, children are separated from the mother, with either by a barrier or with the mother eventually, being in another room, leaving to go somewhere else. A stranger walking into the room. We see how the child reacts with the stranger. Then the stranger leaves the room, and then mom comes back into the room. And what Mary Ainsworth was most interested in is when mom returns to the room after the stranger has been there interacting the child. What is the reunion like between the mother and the child? Is the child able to use the mother as a source of comfort, or is the child not able to use the mother as a source of comfort? You saw in the second video clip some babies just continuing to cry and be inconsolable when mom re-enters the room. You saw other babies who were able, who didn't even want to look at mom. They were very ambivalent towards her. In other words, they knew that they needed her, but yet didn't know how to use her as a safe base or as a source of comfort. And we refer to those two types as being insecurely attached or having an insecure attachment, as opposed to the children with secure attachments who during that reunion are able to use mom for comfort. So Ainsworth identified secure and insecure attachment styles. With a secure attachment, babies tended to, or young children, I should say, tended to stay close to their mothers. They used the mother as a safe base. When mom was out of the room, they would explore the new situation that they were in because they were confident that if they cried, they'd be taken care of. Ainsworth attributed this secure attachment to the fact that from the time that these babies were young, when they cried, they knew that mom would meet their needs. They knew that consistently their needs were going to be met. So when they're put into this strange situation, they're able to more comfortably explore their surroundings. They know mom's going to return, and when mom returns, they're able to use her as a source of comfort. Whereas children with insecure attachment, Ainsworth observed, they'd often cry with fear or with anger. They couldn't be consoled when mom would leave the room. They would not explore. Even when mom, like I said, re-enters the room, they can't be consoled by mom, or they're just unconcerned about the separation at all. They're kind of ambivalent or even avoidant of mom. And Ainsworth theorized that this type of attachment is the result of a child's needs not being consistently met. So the child from a young age, obviously babies need a lot of things. They need a lot of care. They're hungry. They need their diaper changed. They need that physical love and contact as well, right? They need the cuddles and all the other stuff that babies need that are so important. Ainsworth theorized that in children that were exhibiting these insecure attachments, that those needs had not been consistently met. That maybe when baby had needs, that they were even repeatedly rejected by mom, and this might be the basis for this insecure attachment. So in Ainsworth's research, she did find that the majority of babies exhibited secure attachment. They were explorative, they were happy, mom was very consistent, and very quick to meet their needs and sensitive. And she theorized that this is because these babies believe and trust, again, like I said, that their needs are going to be met. The rest of the children, she classified insecure attachments in 3 different categories. There's avoidant, ambivalent, and then disorganized. So an avoidant attachment, again, like, the child might be not very explorative, emotionally distant, very disengaged. Mom would be kind of disengaged and distant from the child. And again, the child probably believes that their needs are not going to be met because they haven't consistently been met in the past. The ambivalent style might result in a child that is anxious, that's insecure, mom is inconsistent, child might believe that, again, they can't rely on their needs being met. And then a disorganized attachment style might result in a child being angry, just not emotionally stable, perhaps depressed. Maybe that's because Ainsworth said mom gives them signals of, being erratic. Maybe mom is modeling fear and is passive. And again, not having their needs consistently met. Modern researchers believe that our infant attachment styles, the attachment styles that we develop with our caregivers very on in our life, are very important in influencing our later relationships. In other words, this attachment that we've been learning about kind of lays the foundation for our future friendships and our future romantic relationships. Secure attachment ties into what Erik Erikson, we'll learn about Erik Erikson a little bit later in the unit, called basic trust. Basic trust is a sense that the world is predictable and it's reliable. And so children with a secure attachment, it's believed, develop that kind of basic trust. And this really helps in laying the foundation for positive relationships later in life. Here you can see what are called adult attachment styles. So you can take a look at this. I'm going to leave it up on the screen for a second. You can pause the video just to see some of the potential outcomes for attachment styles in adults. And again, the idea is that these styles are very much influenced by our attachment styles early in life. Now, just because an adult had an insecure attachment style as a child, that doesn't mean they're doomed in all of their relationships in the future. But this is something that a lot of therapists will work on in helping people identify their attachment styles so they're aware of them and they can continue to work on themselves and, figure out ways to have healthy and positive relationships with other people. I think it's important to note that, a question still remains: is attachment style the result of parenting, like we've been talking about here, or is attachment style the result of our temperament? In other words, some babies have more easygoing temperaments than others. Some babies are more difficult. And this is determined by genetics. Our temperament is genetically influenced. Our temperament is something that we're born with. Some children are more emotionally reactive and intense than others. And researchers believe that this can absolutely influence the way that parents will parent them. Okay, so it's like, what comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Is it the, is it the attachment style that's the result of the parenting, or is the parenting really being influenced by the child's temperament? And we can get into that a little bit more when we talk about parenting styles.